this video, we're going to be finding the product of polynomials. In our first example, we're going to have x minus 3 times x minus 6. Finding the products of polynomials is referred to as distributing. Sometimes, especially when it's a binomial times a binomial like we have here in example A, that's referred to as using the FOIL method, which again is really just distributing. So what exactly does FOIL stand for? Well, FOIL refers to first, outside, inside, last. And it's basically the directions for how you would go about your distribution or your multiplication in order to find the products. Let's go ahead and let's give this a try for letter A. So we'll start off with our F, our first. So we're going to take the first term times the first term, so x times x, which is x squared. Then we'll do our outside term, which will be our x times our negative 6, which will be negative 6x. Then our inside term will be negative 3 times x, which is negative 3x. And our last term will be negative 3 times negative 6, which is going to be a positive 18. Then we'll combine our like terms, and that will give us an x squared minus 9x plus 18. We'll check to make sure that it's written in standard form, which it is, because it goes from a power of 2 to 1 to a constant. And then we're done, and we've just found that product. Go ahead and try letter B on your own. It's very similar to letter A, uses that same foiling method. So go ahead and push pause and work out the problem, and when you're done, push play, and let's see if you were right. So here we have 2x plus 1 times 3x minus 5. If we employ our FOIL method, we'll begin by taking 2x times 3x, which is 6x squared. Then we'll take our outside, which is 2x times negative 5, so negative 10x. Then we'll do our I, or our inside multiplying. 1 times 3x is a positive 3x. And we'll finish with our last. So 1 times negative 5 is a minus 5. We'll need to combine our like terms. So we'll have 6x squared, and negative 10x plus 3x is a negative 7x. And then we have our minus 5. We'll check to make sure that it's written in standard form, which is because we have a degree of 2, a degree of 1, and then a constant. So we're finished. So how do you multiply when it's not a binomial times a binomial and you can't use FOIL? You just have to use distribution. And it might not match FOIL, but it's going to look really similar. So for example, in letter C we have x plus 1, which is a binomial because it has 2 terms, times x squared plus 5x plus 8, which is a trinomial because it has 3 terms. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply our first term x to each of the 3 terms in our trinomial. So here we'll have x times x squared, which will be x to the 3rd. Then we'll have x times 5x, which will be a positive 5x squared. And then we'll have x times 8, which is a positive 8. So the x has gone to all 3 terms, and now we're going to take the 1 and multiply the 1 to all 3 terms as well. Some people refer this to as kissing the babies, where each thing says good night to each of the kids in the bed, gives them a little kiss on the forehead. So here the 1 times x squared will be a x squared. 1 times a 5x will be a 5x. And a 1 times 8 will be an 8. From here, we'll need to combine our like terms. This is a great opportunity to practice our circles, squares, and triangles for combining like terms. So we'll go ahead and find, are there any other x to the thirds? There's no more, so we'll go ahead and we'll write that down, x to the 3rd. Then we'll look for any more squares. Oh, here's one right here. So 5x squared plus one more x squared will give us 6x squared. And those are all done. Then we'll look for our constants. Here's a constant here, so 8 plus 8 is 16. And then we've got kind of a blob of plus 5x. So plus 5x, it's by itself. And then we'll check to see if it's written in standard form. So we'll go 3, 2, constant, 1. And that's not right, because it should go 3, 2, 1, constant. So we need to rearrange that a little bit. So we're going to have our 3, our degree 2 power, then our degree 1 power, and then finish that up with our constant. Now it's written in standard form, and we're finished. Go ahead and try letter D on your own. So push pause and work out the problem. When you're done, push play, and let's see if you were right. So here we have n minus 3 times n squared minus 2n plus 4. So we'll need to do some distributing. And because we have a binomial times a trinomial, we can't use FOIL like we did for letters A and B. So here we're going to go ahead and we're going to multiply out, and we're going to multiply n times n squared, so n to the third, n times negative 2n, so negative 2n squared, n times 4, which is a positive 4n. Then we'll multiply the negative 3 to all three things. So negative 3 times n squared is negative 3n squared. Negative 3 times negative 2n is a positive 6n. And negative 3 times 4 is a negative 12. Now we're ready to combine our like terms. So we'll circle that first term, and we have an n to the third, and there's no other n to the thirds, so we'll write that one down on its own. Then we'll look and see if we can find any more n squareds. Oh, here's one right here. Always make sure that you include the symbol in front of the number. So here I have negative 2n squareds minus 3 more n squareds. And that will give us a negative 5n squared. Then we're going to look for some just plain n's. So we have another one over here. So we have 4n plus 6n, which is 10n. And then lastly, we're looking for constants. And that's the only constant. So we'll have a minus 12. Then we'll check to see if it's written in standard form. And it goes to degree 3, 2, 1, constant. So it's written in descending order. So we know that this is in standard form. And we're done. And so that's how you can find the product of two polynomials.